Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the program Spiritism Inspiring Lives. It's always a pleasure to be together in order to reflect about spirituality. So I would kindly invite us all of us who are here. As you can see, today we have the presence of our dear friend Leonardo, who is with us. But I would kindly invite everyone for us to start a moment of introspection. We can use the breathing exercise if that helps us to breathe in, breathe out, if it helps us to close our eyes, so that we look within ourselves, calming our minds, our hearts, connecting with our deeper self, where essentially we are all beings of love, of goodness. In this long journey of evolution, conquering our own enlightenment, long journey of spirituality. And in that way that we are united for these loving feelings of brotherhood, we start these reflections today. So in that way, we welcome Leonardo Rodrigues, is a member of the Spiritist Center Eurípides Barçanufo, which is a Spiritist group in London. Welcome back to the Spirit Psychological Society, where you have been already with us, and we are always very grateful for your time and sharing your knowledge with all of us, even us who are here right now, and all of those who may be joining later on through our YouTube and Facebook channels. So in that way, welcome, and I will hand it over to you when you are facilitating the team today, Affability and Meekness. Up to you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. Thank you, Ivanese, for this invitation. Let's the proposal of this study. The choice of these two words. They were really on point, because I would say that those two words should be not only for us to read, but to practice them. But not only in towards others, as we will see along the talk, towards ourselves. It's so important. So when we look at those words, we question what they mean. What those words they mean? What does it mean? Affability. What does it mean? Meekness. The first slide. I always like to look for a concept on the dictionary, on websites, in books, so we can understand the word itself. So, affability, the quality of being friendly, kind, and easy to talk. It's a social warmth that puts people at ease. Affability, it's linked to how we treat others. We need to understand and remember and never forget that we are included in this order, and we need to treat ourselves as well with affability. Meekness. What does it mean? What does it mean? The quality of being gentle, humble, and not aggressive or forceful. It can suggest patience and mildness, but sometimes also lack of assertiveness. Meekness is linked to how we carry ourselves. Those two are linked. How we treat others and how we carry ourselves in life. Uh, that meaning how we see a situation, or if we are in a situation, um, how do we carry the situation? How do we see? What do we think? How we react or act? Um, so this is really important, and even without link to spiritism, psychology, philosophy, this is the definition we find um, in the dictionary. And just by seeing those two definitions together, we can understand that it's so important how we treat ourselves, how we carry ourselves within ourselves, how when we look in the mirror, what we see. And I'm not talking about the physicality. When you close our eyes, what we see within. So this will be what we see in us. It's going to be an extension to what we see around and how we react around ourselves toward others. So in the next slide, we'll see a little story for us to understand a little bit more about affability. So just a very short story. In a village market, two shopkeepers sold the same fruit. The first had the best produce, but he rarely looked up. If customers asked questions, he answered shortly and went back to work. The second seller's fruit was just average, but she greeted everyone with a smile. She asked about their families, laughed with the children, and patiently helped people choose. By the end of the month, her store was always surrounded by people, while the first seller wondered why business was low. One day he asked her secret, and then she said, people return where they feel welcome, not just where things are sold. So if we translate to our lives, we sometimes look for so many distractions out externally. They can be many things. Can be we shop too much, we are distracted too much, and this there is a reason why we don't want to get connected to ourselves, why we don't want to get intimate. By intimate, I mean uh, get to know our core, ourselves, because we as beings, as spiritual beings, in a experience in the matter, um, in a material experience, um, we have we came from a long journey, and step by step we improved. We have victories, and those are within us. Of course, we have areas in our in our being that we need to look, we need to adjust, we need to change. But in order for us to know, we need to look, we need to be honest with ourselves. And spirituality is always saying to us, we are never alone. Never alone. Jesus said, where one or more are together, I will be there. He is around us in love, through friends, through books. We have so many, so many tools that we need to address. We need to get to know ourselves, um, and and then we'll feel comfortable. We need to feel, that's the word I was looking for. We need to feel comfortable in ourselves. Not be, we shouldn't be scared to be who we are. I understand it's not easy, but it's important for us. So, the second story on the next slide will be on meekness. A strong oak tree stood beside a small reed near a river. The oak laughed at the reed. Look at you, thin and bending with every wind. Stand firm like me. One day, a great storm came. The wind howled, and the oak refused to bend. It fought the wind with all its strength until its trunk cracked and it fell. The reed bent low, almost touching the water. But when the storm passed, it slowly stood back up. The reed whispered, I survived because I did not try to overpower the storm. The lesson on meekness is gentleness and willingness to yield was not weakness, it was quiet strength. Um, when we when we see the definition of meekness, we saw is how we carry ourselves. So when we are in front of or in a situation, uh, not challenging situation, be external or within ourselves, how will we usually we react, what we think, what we do, what we say? Do we find something external to blame or to distract our attention from the issue? So these little things, time to time, they make ourselves heavy because we keep keep inside ourselves. So when we are honest, and by being honest with ourselves, it's really look for all the tools we have. We have religion, we have therapy, we have books, we have friends. So all those tools, they will help. They will be instruments to rebuild the bridges that will take us inside ourselves again. And we don't need to do that alone. And when we face with these situations, be external or not, but if we are in the situation, what they are saying here is instead of like Divaldo used to say, instead of react with the, because in some situations we get stressed, it's a normal, we get angry, which is normal. The thing is, it's not to stay in those moments, because anger is a defense, but we shouldn't stay there. It's easy said than done, we know, but by being aware of this, we start practicing. So Divaldo used to say, do not react, act. And by acting, he meant, think about it, breathe, stop a little bit, understand the situation. Because what in this story the reed uh, did, no, it wasn't submissive. It wasn't weak. He understood that sometimes by just going backwards a little bit and wait the situation to calm down, it's much better to solve the problems and the situation, because we have time, we give time to ourselves to understand the situation. Because if we go with the emotion, the first emotion that comes, it's not going to be on the moment we are angry, nervous, stressed, it's not going to be a good outcome for other people and for us. So in the next slide, we have a phrase, a Jesus phrase that says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." So we broke this into parts. Blessed are the meek. In philosophy, meekness can be seen as power governed by reason, not the absence of strength, but strength that is controlled, no reactive, and deliberate. Ah, it is what it is. No, we think about this. We have we think about a plan, a solution, how we try to understand the situation, because a situation has different sides, has different viewpoints or points of view. And for they showing it the earth, alignment with how the world actually works. Human society runs on relationship, not domination. Respect, it's something we gain, we construct it, we build with relationships by seeing the other human being in front of us as a human being. There is a word in English, um, orderness, or from order, né? Orderness. It's such a powerful word that we should have that written down in ourselves in a little book, uh, to go and look for the definitions and the meaning and practice it, because orderness means I see the other as a human being, as a person, not as a thing, not as someone that did this or that. No, I see you as you are, a person. um, Jesus said we are brothers and sisters, and when we link all this together, we see all the others as we see in a level ourselves. So when we practice to see ourselves as part of the world, life, trying to build things, to know, work, understand, pray, meditate, we see that we are humans trying. When we understand that, we see that the other person in front of us is the same. That doesn't mean we gonna accept things that are negative or not ethical, but we will see the other person. And this is so important because we'll learn first to build a relationship with ourselves. It's so important when we have a good relationship, an honest relationship with ourselves. We learn how to, and we improve our relationship towards others. So the next slide, we will explain, try to understand a little bit more how these two words, um, affability and meekness, in context of real life through a story, through a Jesus words in John chapter 8, 1 to 11, we have the account of the woman caught in adultery. Um, of course, we need to understand the times. Uh, Women, they were seen as objects, uh, nor respected. They were never seen as a human being, as an able human being to participate in life, in decisions. And then Jesus, when he started his public life and his talks, he understood and he tried for, and has been trying for 2000 and a few years, uh, and he'll keep trying to make us human beings on this planet understand that we are human beings. We should relate to each other. We should learn from each other. Before we are, before gender, before anything, we are human beings. Before a woman, man, and all in between, we are human beings. And when he start defending women, he starts saying that women are human beings that deserve to be part of society. The laws at the time, they would do anything negative towards women. They wouldn't benefit women. They would benefit usually men. That's the context of the time. So when he comes around, he goes around and then you see a group of men with a woman in the middle screaming. He went to see what was happening. So here they say Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. At daybreak, he returned to the temple courts, and all the people came to him. He sat down and began to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman who had been caught in an act of adultery. So in the next slide, they made her stand before the crowd and said to him, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of committing adultery. Now, in the law, in the law, Moses commanded us to stone such women. What do you say?" They said this to test him. He knew that. So they might have something to accuse him of. But Jesus bent down and wrote on the ground with his finger. This is a very important symbol we'll see much a little bit later. In the next slide, as they continued to question him, he stood up and said to them, "Let anyone among you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her." Once again, he bent down and wrote on the ground. When they heard it, beginning with the old ones, they went away one by one until only Jesus was left standing with the woman before him. Jesus said to her, "Woman, where are your accusers? Has no one condemned you?" She replied, "No one, sir." Then Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, do not sin anymore." So when we understand, when we read this story, even within the context of society at that time, and this spirit, Jesus, with such a vision of human and behavior, he knew and he knows ourselves. He knows our behaviors, our frailties, our issues. That's why he is teaching us through examples, through people, through other people. So within that story, there are symbols. We have the stones, we have the writing on the ground. It's really important. The woman, the accusers, the crowd, Jesus' response. And we have both words in this story, affability and uh, meekness. So when we start look at this story, we can see the accusers. They will represent in a way. Uh, they are the representation of hypocrisy, of when we pretend to be something we are not. We are not. but we ask from others behaviors that we ourselves don't have. We ask understanding from people, from others, that in situations that we ourselves we wouldn't or understand. That's why when we see people from the point of view of being human, from otherness viewpoint, we will be able to practice affability. We are being kind. We are being easy, calm, and meekness. We will be strong, but without violence, with peace, with quietness, which will be more effective. So the accusers can also mean something really important. Remember, this is not about others, about ourselves, how we see ourselves. We also carry inside inner critic. You know, that little voice that tells us, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, look at that person. This is the voice that is a very negative voice that tells us all the time we are not worthy, we shouldn't do it, we are not able to do, we don't have the means to do it, we shouldn't be. And for so many years or moments in our lives, we believe, we listen to that voice. But when we realize, no, why should I? When we see ourselves and we are kind to ourselves, we understand that we make mistakes, we have frailties, we have areas that we need to look at, to understand, and to um, correct in a way, to polish. And but also we have an area in ourselves, aside that with our victories through many lives. Or if we don't want to look at other lives, this life we have every day our victories, but we forget. So we need to look into this inner critic and start to question it. Why? Why I'm not capable? Why I am this? Why that person is this? I don't know that person. Maybe I will try to know the person. Maybe I'll look for more information of the situation. Then we have the woman. The woman represents in this story that we are human beings. All we are talking now, we are human beings. We make mistakes, but and sometimes when we make a mistake, oh, I'm going to church, I'm going to mass, I'm going to the spirit center, but I'm still doing this and this. But what we don't see is the constance of it. When we start to look at something and then we tell ourselves, it's time I deal with this, we are finally dealing already with the situation of what it is. Because before we had this, we were doing, we were in it, but kind of a blind. But the moment this veil disappears, because we remove it, we can see clear. Oh, I actually need to do this, and I think I can, but I'm not sure how. I will ask for help. So we are not our mistakes. We are not our frailties. We need to look into those. We need to learn and have a plan not to fall for those often, because the constance of it will be less and less and less until we are no longer doing anymore, or have this frailty or desires. Or so it's important to look at to ourselves. So I saw the accusers, the woman. Now the stones on the parable, it's the judgment. When we sometimes when we in in sometimes because we don't know the situation, sometimes because we are afraid, or we don't know, because we sometimes don't have a relationship with ourselves, and we are afraid to have this relationship with ourselves, because to have an honest relationship with ourselves, with myself, means I need to become vulnerable. And vulnerability, it's seen in society as a stigma, as weakness, and it's not. It's not. We open. I make mistakes. I'm human, but I can, in my circle, I can. I have tools. I have friends that are professionals. All this together can help me have a plan to gain control of my life again, and to build this bridge, this internal bridge within myself, to myself. So the stone is the self-judgment. Everything start from self-judgment. Then I'll judge others. So it's a judgment towards others and ourselves. It's really important for us to pay attention to what am I saying to myself? What do we say to ourselves silently during the day? If we could write down everything that we say to ourselves and then read, we will have an idea how we are treating ourselves and how we are treating others. So Jesus, that's why Jesus, through these stories, he tried to create a map for us to understand ourselves in these situations. When Jesus is stopped to write on the ground, he's not scared. He is studying the situation. He is giving time, gaining time within that situation. That means when we have something to look at, we need time. We need to pause. We need to understand the situation. We need to understand what happened, reasons, because there is always a point of view and a view of a point, and so many aspects that we need to take in consideration. Even especially towards ourselves, why did they react that way? Because of this, because of that, not because of the other only. And we need to understand this. And then Jesus, he and this is the time where he is polite and with self-control, but with strength. He calmed down, he is the situation, he weighed the situation because everybody around, all the men, the accusers, they were angry and they were with the energy was very high up in a negative way. So he made the situation calm down. Then he said what he said. If you don't have any themes, but and then he quiet down again because he gave time for that to sink in. And then, of course, there was the energy around Jesus, of course, but he he gave time. Okay, but what about these and these? And then we give time for the other side to understand. And then we can do that to ourselves. But what about this and this? Then we give time to ourselves to understand the situation. So his answer, his response, it's a mercy. It's that we are not our mistakes. We can always go back. We can always stop, understand the situation, and move on. So it's really important when we read these stories, these parables, to understand the symbols, the characters within the stories. So from this slide, we can go to not the next one, after the next one. Yes. Um, Here's a phrase. Sometimes the crowd isn't outside. It's in our own mind. It's these two negative, these two voices we have. Um, One, it's inspirational, give us energy, positiveness, and the other one, nah, you shouldn't, you don't deserve, you cannot do it. And sometimes, because of our society stigmas, um, we believe those stories. So we believe those. I call them scripts. We believe those scripts that society give us, but we have our own. We can write our own. And how? By getting to know ourselves, by starting a um, very honest relationship with ourselves. When we strengthen this relationship with ourselves, all our relationships in life, because life is movement, life is relationship with others, with uh, situations, we will understand. These relationships change. So it's really important. So now, the next slide, we will just go back to the stones. Uh, so at that time, it was one of the tools for punishment. But psychologically, as we said, harsh, harsh self-talk, replaying past mistakes. Sometimes we take ages, decades with something, and sometimes if we get all those tools we've been talking about and talk to someone, share with someone, we would understand and move on from it instead of carrying it. We think that we are those mistakes. But when we start looking into it and start understand, then those negative voices, they tend to quiet down. Sometimes we believe I always fail, I'm not good enough. This is internal condemnation. This it's so negative we carry, we get heavy because we believe the negative from others. And then this is not what Jesus has for us. It's not the idea of spirituality. It's not punishment. It's always moving on, always understanding. And the next slide again, we visit the accusers, the inner voices. Um, they are all those internalized voices from the society, from other people's um, perceptions of how we should behave, be, or sometimes even the color we should use in clothes and anything. And because we this and that. No, we use and we are the way we are. When we embrace ourselves, all those they stop to have an impact and control of us because we gain the control of our life. So we start comparing ourselves with others. We have a time. Everyone has timing. uh, we stop to shame ourselves. So so these inner negative voices, they always talk from a point of authority, but a negative authority, never from compassion, affability, never. So when we start going in this, we need to be aware of those moments. Oh, I'm going into this. I'm start to give in to those voices, negative voices. So I need to do something. If at the moment I cannot do by myself, I call someone, I read something, I listen to a music to break that moment, to give me time, like Jesus wrote on the ground, to give me time to understand the situation, to breathe, to regain the control. This is so important. So the next one, the public setting, fear of judgment. Even when alone, people with low self-esteem feel I am exposed. I shouldn't be here. If people knew the real me, they would reject me. This is not guilty. This is shame. Because guilt says I did something wrong. Shame says I am wrong. And in reality, it's neither of it. It's because we broke the flow, the relationship with ourselves. We understood that someone said you cannot be yourself, you need to be this. But I'm not that. I am myself. I'm trying to learn and understand who I am. And I will. So we should go that direction, the direction of our flow, of our inner flow. Let's rebuild it. There's all the gospels, all the spiritist books, psychological books, um, science now. Positiveness is the key for health, for balance. So we we should understand this. Uh, so the next slide, Jesus right on the ground, pause before self-judgment. When we go into that again, it's a habit. So to break that, when every time we go into, oh, I shouldn't, oh, I don't deserve, oh, this, oh, that, we stop. We break that. Do something else, and then we come back. No, I'm gonna carry on. Maybe slowly, maybe slower, but I will do. I'll get there. I'll get there. Ah, but the neighbor did quick. Wow, good, but I can't. I have my time, and I'm not less because I'm gonna do in more time. I do on my time, whatever it is. So it's like mindfulness. And mindfulness really help us to break when we are anxious, when we are about to have a reaction. If we learn, it's a learning process, of course. When we start to go into these modes um, of always reacting, 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 anger, anger, heaviness, then we are tired because all the energy is gone. When we learn to calm down, takes a minute, 1 minute to breathe, we are in another situation. We are in another energy, and then we can see clear what happened, and we understand more. So we can ask, is this true or it's false or it's imposed by someone? Then we will gain the control to answer in a better way. So the next one, let the one without sin cast the first stone. It's a self-compassion. Are you are we judging ourselves as if we are the only imperfect human being? We are all um, imperfect, but I like what in the Gospel according to Spiritism says. There is a phrase that Allan Kardec says, "We are not imperfect beings; we are perfectible beings." By saying that in another way, we are perfectible. That give us more time. It's another view of a situation. That means we are always improving. So we start practicing more self-compassion, self-empathy, which is the way that um, Jesus taught us. So we remind ourselves that sometimes these imperfections, these moments in our lives, is part of our journey. We are learning. We are learning. So let's not be too harsh on ourselves. So the next one, healthy self-worth. Neither do I condemn you. So Jesus is not saying what you did doesn't matter. Eh, Jesus is saying your mistake, it's not your identity. You have room for improvement. Self-awareness is growth. So affability, it's a turned inward becomes kindness towards oneself. Meekness turned inwards. When we take to ourselves, practice to ourselves, becomes gentle patience with one's own growth. It's so important this to be kind to ourselves, to be kind. And the next one, the gospel according to Spiritism, there is a phrase that says benevolence towards one's fellow beings, the product of love for one neighbor, produces affability and gentleness, which are its outward form. However, one must not always trust appearances, for education and worldly habits may give the varnish of these qualities. How many are there whose false affability is but a mask for pride? So, according to Spiritism, the Gospels, it's a really important book that gives us a lot of instruments and opens our way, uh, the viewpoints of understand in different ways life, our behaviors, and how to improve without being harsh, without pointing fingers, but with love, with care, with empathy, because the the idea of spirituality, of spiritists, our guides or friends, is to make us understand, to show us we come from love. We are love. We are beautiful in our uniqueness. We are unique beings and we are beautiful in that. And we should be proud of that and share with ourselves and with others. Because on the last slide, we have the phrase true power is not shown in the strength of the hand, but in the gentleness of the heart. So let's be more gentle with ourselves, with our mistakes, but let's remember our victories as well. With that, I thank you very much, everyone. I thank you, Evanise, for this opportunity. I think I arrive at the end of the talk, and thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for your time, for being with us, sharing your knowledge with all of us, and ending this moment of, let's say, kindness towards ourselves. All of those who follow this journey, all of those who later on may enjoy it, also reading, listening, and feeling more tender towards each other, towards ourselves, and more loving towards the Creator, towards ourselves, towards each other. And in that way, yes, we're coming to the end of these unique moments of spirituality. Let's end it with expressing our gratitude. Gratitude for everything that we have. Gratitude for all the good experiences that we analyze it in that way, that are genuine. Gratitude for all of those experiences that our spiritual benefactors didn't allow us to go through because we have the merit, because we are proving to ourselves to become better beings. Our gratitude for all the experiences that we in our infancy sometimes call problems, but in reality, they are invitations for us to grow, to develop, to advance. In that way, with our hearts full of gratitude, our minds more enlightened towards the truth, which helps us to free ourselves from ourselves, and also free us from belief systems sometimes that we still carry from centuries, as we are all immortal beings, essentially beings of love, created by God with love, in order to learn to love ourselves, others, and life. With our hearts full of gratitude, we conclude this meeting today, and wishing peace to everyone, today and always. And in that way, we say again, thank you, Leonardo. It has been a pleasure learning with you, sharing the time with you, knowing, as you rightly said, we always learn with each other. Hope in the future to have other opportunities. And also all of those who have been with us, our gratitude and thank you for all. Again, much peace to all. Hope you see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.